Hey guys, welcome to Indie Game Hustle. In this video, we're going to take a look at the interface of Bakin. The goal of this video is really just to kind of look around, get comfortable, see where things are located so it won't feel overwhelming, right? And I think for me, that's how I approach most 3D software or just software in general, is just kind of poke around, see what things do, see what things are at, and then maybe you start doing the tutorial. Maybe then you start kind of experimenting, right? So let's take a look. So here is in the very center screen here is the editor or the map location. And you can rotate in this scene using your mouse with the right button. So you can rotate left and right. And if you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can scroll in and out. And with that same scroll wheel, if you hold down the scroll wheel, you can pan in and out left and right like so. And if you scroll out, you can hold down the Alt key and you can do things like select and do things like that. But I'll show you more here in a second. Let's see what else we can do. You can select things using the mouse, the left mouse button. So we can move an object that way, and if this is like the little character or an object or a house or a chair or something in the scene, you can do that. So basically this is kind of like your 3D environment, right? You got your sky, you got your ground, you have your x-axis here. You can kind of go directly to the y upside, you can do it this way. So just kind of understanding what's available. This is map settings. You click this and this kind of popped open. I'm not super familiar with all these settings, but if I was to just guess, it is kind of like your general map stuff. So you have your name, IDs, the resolution. I guess there's a sound there, environmental stuff, cameras to be used, all that type of stuff there. This is just the map here. Let's see, map settings, there we go. Rendering is there, so you can change. Okay, so you have your nightfall and things like that, but we'll take a look at those details later. So this is kind of where you would find this stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that. All right, so on the left side here, we have the master menu, right? So you have your map editor, and then you have resources, database, game definition, layout tool, camera tool, variables used, common events, and the sprite tool. Let's see here. So let's just go click on resources as an example. So when you click on one of these things, usually a menu opens up. You can kind of make that menu smaller and you can just kind of reduce it just so you can get a sense that it's a floating menu, but you can go full screen or you can have it off the screen, whatever you need. And in here you have different things you would be looking for. So no need to go through any of this right now, but this is kind of where it is. These are your different resources, like your 3D objects and your models and your materials and your particle effects and all those things. So go ahead and close that. I'm gonna go to the database now. The database is amazing, right? This is the great part of these types of engines, is that it's extremely organized, as organized as it can be, especially for something like an RPG, right? I mean, you have it organized from cast, items, skill, classes, state definition, attribute definition. You have your cast, so you have your different characters that's going to be in your game. You can even organize that by adding folders. So if you want to create heroes and then put all the heroes there, and villains, and then you put the villains there, and NPCs and then put the NPCs there, right? You can do that. It's pretty dope. And then say you select your hero, you can change their name, you can change the graphic that's going to be used. So here is the one that we chose. So just like in the beginning when we're doing the setup of the project, we chose hero A, but what if we change our mind? We want a female, right? So you want this character instead. So you hit add exit, and now there you go. But now you got to change the graphic layout, and so you want to click that and look for a graphic. So Hero B layouts is there she is, right? Because this is all built in. It has some stuff there. Now I would recommend custom content, but to get started, it's there. So we can do that, we can change it. So that's awesome, right? Just kind of getting used to where things are to understand how this works. You have your basic tabs here. So you have tabs, basic, equipment and abilities, battles, effects, others. I don't know what all these things do yet, right? Because I'm kind of figuring it out. But there are some things I am familiar with. But here you can kind of mess with some of these things, classes, changing level curves. All this stuff is kind of here and ready for you to go and play with. But we'll dive into this stuff later. But for right now, here it is, straightforward, right? At the very bottom, once you make your changes, you can hit the apply button and then hit OK. And now you're out of there. So if I was to go back to resources, just as an example, not resources, I'll close that window, go back to database, and I go into items. There's your items, you got your swords and your all types of stuff, and a very similar thing. You can even put in the different effects that are there. So that's amazing. So it's all pretty cool stuff. I think for me personally, it helps to focus on making the game than focusing on like how to organize your game, right? Like it's kind of there for you. So you have your skills, you have your classes, you have your state definitions, things like this, and then your attribute definition. So this is all pretty cool. And so it's great that that's easily accessible. All right. So the next thing we look at is the game definition. Okay. So here you have start settings, rules and operations, project settings, common terms, and system resources. Start settings is kind of when the game starts, who's there. You have this character here, you have the hero, but if we don't want the hero, I think you can change it out to another character. I'm not familiar with how all of this works yet, but initial accompanied members. So maybe there's going to be some other parties that start in your party before the game starts. So I would imagine they have visual scripting is kind of how they do their coding in game. I would call it visual scripting. That's how I would describe it. You can basically say add member to your party through the visual scripting, or maybe this allows you to kind of have that member already part of your party when the game starts, right? So how much money is in your possession when the game starts? All of these types of things are here, even down to what map they're on. And well, this is actually probably the map that we're currently on, but where is that person located on the map? So that's pretty cool. All right. Next is rules and operations. So this is going to be kind of where we kind of start out, right? You got your game definition, menu, registering, picture book. I'm not sure what that is. Battle related things, camera operations, footstep settings, movement, right? That looks familiar, right? That's something that we should probably think about changing, right? There's that word, use inertia to move, right? So we kind of want to play with these things to kind of change those settings. Jumping. How high should you jump? We definitely want to reduce that, so we're definitely going to have to play with that as well. Camera ranges, all that type of stuff is here. And then you have your input device for your key and button assignments, and this is something that you can edit, and then you would hit apply and hit OK. Not going to change that in this video. Again, we're just kind of getting comfortable with what we're looking at. All right, project settings. Here we go, right? We have our new game title. So if we wanted to change it, we can. We can put in copyright notices, game descriptions. There's some icons, so those look familiar. You can probably update that stuff. And there's some other things here, your runtime resolution. So if you want to change that, again, all these things are here. It's good to see it, know where it's at, and you'd be familiarized with it. Here's some common terms. So you have your store. So these are just terms, items, menus, parameters, battle, terrain attributes. So these things are here. Not going to get into it right now, but it is there. They even have something called a localization tool. So I have not used this, but it's here and we can play with that later if needed. And then we have system resources, right? Again, take a look at it, see where it's at, and it's pretty nice. So everything is nicely laid out as far as I'm concerned. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit yes because I don't need to save anything. All right. And that was game definition. So the layout tool, I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but what's great about this is that it's your menu. So we can, it kind of gives you almost like a system to help build out your menu. So it kind of helps make it look better than the default that they have built in. So we're not going to get into it, but it's all here, and we will definitely play with this part very soon, right? All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit cancel, get out of there. And we have the camera tool, which is awesome. So we have different cameras and different things. We're gonna use this to kind of manipulate how we want the camera to be. And they have a timeline here with different frames and how we can do zooming in and zooming out. And so this is gonna get really fun really quick, I think, once we start to get into it. So this is how you would do it. I believe, you know, you have the start cameras for battle. So you have your different cameras for different scenarios: battle, standby, attacking, using a skill, the results camera, all types of things, even down to like a conversational screen. Each map can have a camera, or you can just have a default camera. And this is probably where we're going to start with kind of changing our camera settings and things like that. All right. And then we have variables used. There's not, I think there's any variables preloaded or anything, but we definitely will be creating variables. So this was where those will show up. I'll go ahead and close that. We got common events. Common events are interesting. I'll go over it later once we start talking about eventing, is what kind of how it's communicated to me of what I've read and what I've listened to is called eventing or events. So it's cool. I think it's really cool. Once you get the hang of it and understand kind of how it works, it all makes sense. So we'll go over what that means, but this is the common event editor. And then the sprite tool, again, I don't think I'll be using sprites, at least not initially anyway, not that I think of. I'm gonna try to do everything in 3D as much as possible, characters, environment pieces, all that stuff. But they have a sprite tool. So I'm sure it's very useful for those who are really focused on the spriting of their game. So cool. Now this little slim area here is your area, like your map list. So this is map 1. We're on map 1 right now. And so what we can do is create a new map, or we can add a folder and organize our maps. So that's kind of cool. If we hit add, it's going to be like create map. Makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you? I think it's pretty straightforward. You can name your map. You can give it a size, right? You can give it the resolution settings, all types of stuff here. You can even just let it auto generate, which is nice. Or you can image loading. I don't know what that means, but whatever that is, it does it. It's there. So anyway, we'll learn what some of these things are as we go and figure things out based on what is needed. I don't need to know everything. I just need to know what I need to know. Fair enough. So there you have that. And so I love the fact that you can have folders and organize your maps and do that thing, because it gets really complicated with making games, and the more organization options, the better. Placed list is basically, I believe, if I was to look at Unity, I think it's kind of like basically what's in your scene. So that's, you have your map properties and your start point. So whatever's in your scene is in this list. If I hit add, let's see, what is it doing? Click the destination. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing right now, but I'm gonna hit cancel because I don't want to mess up. So basically this is probably just a list of things that's on your map in this scene. Cool, great. And then common events is, here is that thing again, a list of common events. Okay, it's basically this here. So if we hit add, this is going to be a common event selector. You can do a custom event, or they have some pre-made events, which is amazing. And so we'll get to that and show you all the other options they have as well. All right, and going to the right side, you have your different tools. So you have the ability for selection. this is, if I hover, it tells me terrain, rectangle, selection. Okay, and then this one is like, I think you can kind of do something like this, which is nice. And then you can, I don't know how all this works, but, oh, I see. So it basically closes that, and then anything within that circle will kind of complete that. So that's nice, right? So if you need to select just like a section and you're just trying to create a section, you can do that, which is nice. Cool. These are just different ways to select different things. We can kind of go over these as we need. We got the pen tool, the fill tool, eraser, etc. So we'll go over these different tools as needed. And let's see here. So it's your tool section. Here's your stamps. I don't know why they use the term stamps, but that's what they call them. So we're just going to go with it. You have terrains. You have different color blocks. So you have your grays, your reds, that sort of thing. So when you select this, you can kind of paint directly on these here. So that's kind of cool. And you have your other types of stamps, so you can do this sort of thing. And so yeah, so there you have it. There's a different stamps, and they come with different, I guess, sizing or whatever. I don't know what all this means yet, but we're gonna figure it out. I will tell you ahead of time, I probably will not be using this stuff. I more than likely am going to import like 90% of the environment, because I've played with this part just a little bit, and I kind of figured out a way to go about bringing in an environment as opposed to using the built-in land tools as you see them. So remember, this tutorial is based on the project that I'm making. So I'm just gonna go over the things that I'm using it for, and hopefully these things are useful. But of course, I'll show you how to do what is here. So, but just keep in mind, I probably will not be using like the cube, the text, you know, these types of things. It's just, I have a different idea I think I'm gonna go with and see if it's successful or not, see if it works. All right, we have objects. So let's see here. What else we have? 2D cast, basic set, nature, particles. So you have different objects. So if we want rain, I think you can just kind of take it, and now there's rain on the map, which is amazing. It's pretty cool. I love that. You can do fire. Let's put some fire in the rain. So now we have some fire out there. So that's pretty cool. You got that and all types of stuff, and you can bring in your own things as well. So this is just kind of what they have built in. Pretty nice. And it looks great. It really does. And then you have events. So this is the eventing stuff that they have. You can make your custom events. And then they have pre-made events like doors and warp gates and all types of very useful like RPG things, right? And that's what's great about it. So they have stationary things like leaving the party and talking and all types of stuff. So there's just a lot here. So walking, speaking, whatever. So the point is that you don't have to make everything from scratch. So if we were to take a look at what an event looks like, I'm gonna take that, click it, and then it has this event here. I don't want to go into the details of this. I have seen this menu before, but if we were to convert this to a custom event, we're just gonna hit OK. This is generally what a event editor kind of looks like. You have different, I guess, event names, and then you have conditions for the event, and then you have kind of like your visual scripting or actions that can take in a particular order within that event. So I think this is pretty straightforward. Everything has complexities, but personally I think, you know, you don't have to code it. There's obviously some options for coding if you're really gifted and you know how to do C# coding. There is an option here at the bottom left here to add your own C# codes here. I haven't really played with that yet. I just know that it exists and it's there. So, but if you're really good at C#, man, you can probably make this thing do all types of stuff. But if you're not, you can use all the different eventing options that are listed here. And we'll go into that later as we approach it. Again, we're only going to event the things that we need. I'm only gonna make the things that I need. So I'm gonna hit cancel. Cool. So that's that. Those are all the menus there. Now at the very bottom of the screen, actually, there's some things. So you have the selection target. So you have terrains only. So what this is going to do is, let me get to selection. So this is my selection tool, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And if I hit terrains only, I won't be able to select like objects in the scene. I don't think so anyway. Let me confirm that. So nope, I can't select the object in the scene. But if I select objects only, now I can only select objects. And you can see when I hover over them with my mouse, they kind of light up. Okay, so this is useful because if you're focusing on like just just objects on your map, you don't want to accidentally grab the ground or anything like that. You really just want to select the objects, as you can see. So I can click and drag, but it's only going to click and drag all the objects in the area, as you can see, right? But if I have the terrains only, it's only going to select a terrain, right? Cool. Now if I do both, I don't really see the benefit of doing both, but I guess there's some benefits to that, right? So there you have that. And then you have your operation axis. So not exactly sure what this is. I'll have to play with it. I can't remember how that works, but you have these buttons here. We'll play with that later. Manipulator, place on top. I'm not exactly sure what that is either, but we'll play with that. And then you have your manipulator here. So this is going to be able to rotate. So if you want to rotate your object, you can, or can you? I don't know. I guess it just depends. So there you go. You can kind of rotate it if needed. And then you can scale it if you want to scale it. I don't know if we need to scale the character. I don't think that would be wise. But if you needed to scale like a box or a house or a chair or something, you can do that using these tools. You can be on grid, you can snap to grid, or you can not snap to grid. So if we were to just move her just a little bit, she's not on grid. But if we snap, then you're snapping on the grid, which is nice. So that's going to come in handy if you're moving things like furniture around and you don't want it to be all super squarey and on the grid. And so once I start building the scene and building maps, of course, we're going to have to get off the grid based on how I'm probably going to go about building these things out. All right. Camera from above, on and off. I guess that's what that does. That's kind of cool. Perspective view, right? Have all things here. Post effects. So this is just kind of turning off certain things. So if we don't want it to look too pretty, maybe it affects performance. I don't know, while you're working in the engine. Map symbols. So you can turn off your map symbols if you want. Enemy distribution areas. If we had those, I guess that would show. View collision, so we can view the collision. And don't know what this is. Depth of field, maybe is what that is. So yeah, so pretty much that is it for the most part. I guess only thing we're missing is maybe up top here you can save your game. You can undo. You can go to file. You can return the top menu. Top menu is that very first screen that we started the project in, so you can go there. You can go to edit, and there's some options here as well. You can go to view. So view is a good window to know about because I ran into this once, I think, and I'm gonna try it. So say you have your map settings and you hit close and it disappears and you're like, I don't know where it is. What happened to it, yo? So if you go to view, we want map settings. So there it is, boom, we brought it right back. And so now if we lose something on the screen, we definitely can bring it back. And so so just in case that happens to you, this is kind of how you would go about it. Cool. We have these functions. So these are all the same kind of menus here on the left side. And then you have other things here. So we can play with these things as needed as we have to figure it out. All right. So one of the main things here is test play. And then if you see these little 3 dots, you have normal execution, which is probably just hitting this button. Then you have skip title, external player, and then quick load. Now, normal execution is probably if I hit play and it goes right into this. This is just you testing. And if you hit new game, it goes right into it and you're on the map, just like to be expected. And there's all our fire and all of our different things that we were doing. And that's great. And that's your test play. Now, if I go to skip title skip, I guess you can say, exactly what you expect. It didn't bother going to the title, and that's dope because I don't always need to go to the menu, and sometimes I don't want to do that. And why is that beneficial? Because say you're on a different map and you want to just skip all that and you want to play on that map. Now, what I found is if you select and you right click, you can make this starting point. What that means is if you're on another map, if we were to create another map, you would basically right click and say make this starting point, and then you would say, you know what, go ahead and skip the title skip, and it will start your character at that point. That's how I would use it. That's how I've played around with it the brief time that I've played with it, and so I find that extremely useful and great. Okay, cool. All right, external player simulates exporting. So you have your thing there, and then this quick load, I do not know what that is. Maybe it's just a quick load. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just really fast. All right, so I don't see a huge difference, but there it is. Cool. And then you have your help and some links, some helpful links here as well, and then your version type. All right, cool. Well, guys, I hope that was beneficial to kind of just simply just walk through it. Like a little tour to kind of see where things are. If you're used to Bakin, or if you're already using Bakin, this video is nothing new. You've already been through this, no big deal. But for those who are new to it, new to using it, never even heard of the engine before, I hope that this was valuable for you to at least walk through with me and kind of just check it out. Cool. So on the next video, our first goal is to take a look at how to change the player's jump and inertia movement, so that we can kind of start to think about what the game requirements are, right? I want to kind of start thinking, all right, I only got a few times, I only have a few days to kind of get this done. I need to kind of lay out what I need to do. So I know I need to change the player's jump. I need to change how they move. I need to change which button the player jumps with, right? The default camera, those types of things. So in the next video, we're going to work on changing the player's jump settings. I'll see you guys in the next video.